What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman of The Time Teller. I have a bit of a rant for you today, hope you don't mind, but it's Friday, which means it's actually time for a T3 watch rant. Now, this might be a bit of a controversial one because I'm going to start it off by saying your watch is probably not worth what you think it is monetarily, and that's perfectly fine. It is 3:21 p.m. Let's get down to business. Okay, so notice how I said monetarily. Your watch isn't worth what you think it is monetarily. That's perfectly fine. Guys, guess what? Most watches are not a net positive when we're looking at monetary gain. In fact, it's been my stance throughout my history of watch collecting that most watches, like the vast majority, like 99.99% of watch purchases, are negatives when we're looking at monetary gain. They're not good investments. Do not start buying watches as an investment. It's not good. You know what you should be buying watches for? You know how you should be investing in your watches? With love. I know it sounds cheesy, but you need to have an intrinsic desire, a drive to buy that watch and want to wear the watch and enjoy the watch and build memories with that watch. Perhaps pass it down to your kids or someone else. That's what's so fun about watch collecting, in my opinion. It's not the back end monetary gain. Most of my watches that I purchase for my own collection, they have not made me any money. In fact, I've lost money on most of my watches, and that's perfectly fine. Like, do you honestly think I bought my Seiko tuna so that I can sell it later for a profit? That's not going to happen. I think I spent $1,300 on this watch. If I wanted to sell it used, I mean, what, maybe $700? Maybe? But have I lucked out on some? Yes. Full disclosure, you know, things like my Vacheron, most of my vintage Rolexes, perhaps my JLC, those I made money on. I was a savvy shopper. I did my research. I waited, and I happened to purchase these watches just at the perfect time. Another example of that would be perhaps my Grand Seiko J14070. But for the vast majority of my collection, I'm not making any money on it, and I'm still loving these watches to death. So why am I ranting about this? Seems kind of random, right? Well, lately in my inbox, throughout various inboxes of mine, whether it be here in the YouTube comment section or like my DMs on Instagram or my various email addresses, it's been happening a lot through the Time Teller shop. People have been asking me to kind of appraise their watches, and I actually had one message, one exchange that really prompted me to make this episode. Number one, just right off the bat, it's difficult for me to appraise another watch if I'm not with the watch, right? So oftentimes when people write to me asking me what I think their watch is worth, they don't even send me pictures, which, you know, even if I had a picture, it'd be very difficult for me to assess that watch's health, the functionality, all the little nuances that go along with looking and gauging a watch. So that's already kind of difficult. But I had this one gentleman write to me and ask me about something I've actually never done before, okay? So he wanted to trade a bunch of watches towards a Rolex Datejust 36 millimeters. Now, when I say I've never done this before, of course I've personally traded watches with someone else perhaps, but he was writing to the shop, like through my business, asking if I would take in a trade towards sourcing a watch. And as it stands right now, the Time Teller shop does not do that. I'm not saying we'll never do that in the future, just right now we don't do that. But he went further and he was asking about, I think it was 5 watches. He had a Seiko Sarbo 17, the Alpinist. He had a Seiko Sarbo 3.5, a Seiko Sarbo 3.3, and a, what was it? It was an old, the way he put it, an old chromed out G-Shock with no battery. And finally he had a Seiko Monster, one of the Seiko Monster variants. I don't remember the reference number. So he asked me to appraise these watches, and this was all in one message, one big message. He was like, these are the watches I have. I want to trade this in towards a Rolex Datejust 36 millimeter. I want you to, you know, tell me how much the difference would be if I traded these watches into the Time Teller shop. Now again, I let this person know, you know, the Time Teller shop doesn't really do that right now, but here's how much your watches kind of would be worth without us even looking at them. And by us, I mean me or anyone at TikTok Watch Repairs, my watchmakers. You know, without any of us being with your watches, this is kind of what you could expect. And again, I wasn't making an offer. I was just trying to kind of pass along some more information tactfully. I wasn't like dropping the hammer on him. But this guy didn't like the kind of rough numbers I gave him. And his response to me is, like I said earlier, what prompted me to come in here and turn on the camera and rant. Your watches, guys, are often not worth what you think they are. And the watches that he was trying to trade, he had very inaccurate expectations of what they would be worth in a trade. And I feel like it was kind of perpetuating something I really don't like, that I see happening a lot in the watch world. So when I told him that these watches, you know, really wouldn't put that big of a dent towards a 36mm Rolex, the one that he wanted, he got, I mean, he wasn't like personally attacking me, but I could tell he got kind of irked by that. And of course, his first initial response was, well, these watches are discontinued. The Sarbo 17 Alpinist is discontinued. The Sarbo 33 is discontinued. The Sarbo 35 is discontinued. Monsters are harder to find. And then, you know, the G-Shock, it was kind of difficult for me to factor in a G-Shock. Most G-Shocks are under $100, and one that has no battery in it, I mean, okay. And of course, he inevitably brought up eBay. Oh yes, eBay, the beacon of information when we're looking at gauging the prices of watches. The watch world really lives and dies on eBay. I'm joking. Here's what we all need to gain from this, okay? Just because a watch is discontinued does not mean it's inherently more valuable, all right? As much as I absolutely adore the Sarbo 17 Alpinist, that iteration of the Alpinist is what my brain thinks of when I hear the word Alpinist. I think of the green dial, sub 40mm, beautiful gold border indexes, you know, solid case back, no display case back, no Prospex logo, no magnifier. That's what I think of when I think of the Alpinist. I think that that could be, you know, my one watch for the rest of my life if I had to pick it. You guys know how much I fetishize that dang green dial Alpinist. But all things considered, they made a ton of them. Okay, they made a ton of them. That's why when I see some of these eBay prices, it makes me laugh. I have to spit out my coffee because it's like, who the heck is going to pay $700 or more for that watch? That's an incredible watch. You know, it punches way above its price point. When we look at its specs, you know, shock resistance, 200-meter water resistance rating, dual crown, threaded crown, date complication, really nice finishing, sub 40mm. When we look at all of this, if it had Swiss made on the dial, of course it would be, you know, over $700 all day long. But the truth is, this is why I scoffed at these new Prospex Alpinists, because, okay, they're releasing them over $750 for very minimal changes, minimal upgrades, over $750 MSRP, when you used to be able to get the Alpinist under $400 brand new. It's just a joke. I hate the way that the watch world is going in that direction, especially when we're looking at Seikos. But of course, whenever anything is discontinued, these resellers jump on it because, you know, they want to make a buck, and I understand it. But just because someone else is selling a new Alpinist, like a new, I guess it would be considered new old stock at this point because there's a newer model, but just because someone is selling a pristine non-used Sarbo 17 in 2021 for around $700 doesn't mean your used one, like the one you had for the past 5 years and you've been wearing as your everyday watch, doesn't mean that that watch is worth anywhere near $700. And I hate to tell you, even if the market rate was $700 for that used Alpinist, if you're going to trade it into a store, that store is going to have to offer you much less than that so that they can sell it for the market rate and still make a profit. That's just how it works. So here's another little facet of this whole interaction. If you're looking to sell a watch or trade it into a store, you're probably not going to get the going rate for it. They're not going to try to lowball you, like to offend you. They have to lowball you in order to make a profit. And using the word lowball, you know, that's kind of negative. What I mean is they have to offer you less than the market rate so that they can sell it at the going rate to make a profit. That's what I mean. I don't know if you heard my cat, but she agreed. Gato, play it back if you can hear it. If not, put in a cat noise. Did you hear that one? It's funny, when I say the word Seiko, she always chirps because her name is Seiko. We call her Princess Seiko. So she thinks I'm talking about her in here, and she's like, what, treats? You calling me? Okay, yeah, I'm right here. So she's like right outside the door. Every time I make an episode and I mention Seiko, she goes crazy up there. I'm sorry, little girl. Throw up a picture of her. She's adorable and perfect, and I love her. Yes, I have turned into a cat lady. I have 3 cats now. Okay, back to the story. So where did I get this $700 mark? I keep mentioning $700. Well, this is what this person wanted to get from his Alpinist, his Sarbo 3.3, his Sarbo 3.5, and his Monster. He wanted $700 a piece. I'm going to tell you right now, if you have any of these watches, if you have a Monster, if you have a Sarbo 3.3, a Sarbo 3.5, and an Alpinist, they're great watches. Enjoy them. They are watches that definitely punch above their price range. The Sarbo 3.3, Sarbo 3.5, those are some of the most perfect everyday watches. You know, they're very easy to wear, very inoffensive dial variants, white and black. You know, they have a 100-meter water resistance rating. They look good on a multitude of straps and bracelets, incredibly versatile. They are not worth anywhere near $700, and you're probably not going to get $700. Again, these aren't new old stock examples. These are used examples. And if you have one at home, chances are you've been wearing it a bunch. Like, look, I have a Sarbo 17. I absolutely love it. I've banged the hell out of it. It's scuffed. It's been worn, and I'll keep enjoying it. But if I ever choose to sell it, which I won't, because number one, that's like one of my favorite watches on earth, and it was a gift from Connie. But if I did ever sell it, there's no way I would ever expect to get $700. It's just absurd. But all right, so let's say he wanted $700 for 4 of the 5 watches. Again, the G-Shock, I could offer maybe 20 bucks. And this is all without seeing it. I wasn't even making offers. I'm just thinking in my head. Like the G-Shock, it's really difficult to resell used G-Shocks because again, there's not a huge resale market for used digital watches. That's just the case. I know that there's some niche sellers out there, but for the most part, used banged up G-Shocks, not very easy to sell at a high profit. But 4 out of the 5 watches, he wanted 700 bucks a piece, $2,800. I don't see any shop giving someone 2,800 bucks for pretty common high production rate Seikos. I just don't see it. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all to those watches because they're watches that I absolutely love. I do enjoy the Monster. I ended up getting the Baby Tuna instead. They share a lot of similarities with the dial and the bezel. The Alpinist I absolutely love. I never got the Sarbo 3.3 or the Sarbo 3.5. I never had them in my collection, but I've worn them many a time. I have friends that own both of them. Great watches. And the Alpinist, I've said it a million times already, absolute favorite watch. I don't see any watch store taking those 4 watches in and then shelling out $2,800. 700 times 4 would be 2,800, right? I just don't see that happening. So this is the point of the entire episode. Don't buy into the hype. Stop perpetuating the stupid reseller scalper phenomenon that's been going like mad from 2017 up. It really hit its peak, I think, around 2018. Just don't buy into the hype, guys. You hear these, all the new releases, is what I'm trying to say, have been ruined because of these resellers and people trying to manipulate the market on eBay by it's hilarious because they flooded eBay with a bunch of these watches. There's still blue Alpinists being listed for exorbitant amounts of money. It's like, just stop. You guys all posted a bunch of them and now there's a ton to choose from. So it's like, how difficult are these actually to find? They're not that difficult to find. There's a bunch. You guys are now just sitting on a bunch of unused product because you bought out a bunch, you flooded the marketplace with them at very high prices and no one's buying them. Because people aren't stupid. They realize that those watches aren't worth close to $1,000. They're just not. They're great watches, but don't spend that money on them. People say that I'm unrealistic about the Alpinist. I'm showing my true colors right now. It's one of the best watches you can buy. However, don't buy one at $700. Just don't. So buy the watches you like and enjoy them. And the only gain you should be expecting is like the gain of enjoyment, of satisfaction, of happiness, of usability and functionality and wearability. Not any sort of monetary gain, because it's most likely not going to happen. Again, unless you want to go into the business of selling watches, then you can look at watches more monetarily, and then you have to, do a bunch more research, and then it's kind of a totally different animal. But if you're looking to collect, chances are you're not going to make much money on the watches that you buy for yourself, myself included. So I know this was kind of an off-the-cuff rant, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. And if you have anything to add to this conversation, please, again, leave it in the comment section. But using eBay as a gauge for market prices and like buying into the hype, this whole reseller scalper phenomenon, and thinking that you're going to, get a 36 millimeter Rolex by trading in 5 used high production rate watches is just not going to happen. So just have reasonable expectations and just enjoy your watches. Enjoy them. Like, buy them because you like them and keep them and wear them. Yeah, that's rant over. So again, add your own piece in the comment section below. I learned from you guys just as much as you learned from me. And these rants are, as cheesy as it sounds, they come from the heart. I don't have a script in front of me. I don't have notes really. I'm telling you how I feel. So let's continue the conversation, in the comment section. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of ways to support the channel if you're interested. The easiest one is just to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon if you haven't already. Hitting the like button definitely helps me out, but commenting right now, the easiest, best way to help me out is just a comment. That helps me in the algorithm, the living, breathing YouTube algorithm that's ever changing and none of us really understand unless you're like PewDiePie or Logan Paul or something. We have a whole bunch of affiliate links in the description below that you can click on and shop through, and that helps out the channel. You can join the channel membership. Again, you get access to that members only Discord chat where I post some added content there. And yeah, by far the easiest way to support the channel is just to keep watching and commenting, and again, subscribe. So stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. Enjoy your watches, wear your watches. Don't worry about keeping them pristine for the next guy. That's just silly, and I've never understood it in my entire life. Just enjoy yourself. I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.